everyone. Welcome to the Instructors Forum for this month, Tai Chi and Immunity. We have a large group today, about 150 joining from this zone and another almost 50 from the other side of the world from me, but welcome. I would like to tell you we're going to have a guest speaker, but please keep your computers on mute. And if you have questions for the guest speaker or for Dr. Lam later on, please put those in the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Also assisting me from the UK is Master Trainer Nuala Perrin. So welcome, Nuala. Do you have a word, Nuala? Nuala?
Yes, hi everyone. Welcome. There's so many of you. It's fantastic. I'm from the UK, so big welcome from the UK, and yeah, enjoy.
Okay. And so the next one, I don't have to introduce. You all know our wonderful leader, Dr. Lam.
Welcome, everybody. It's so good to see you. And it's really nice to be together, especially in this challenging time. We all need time to connect. And the topic is really exciting, something that I really care about. But most importantly is to be here with you and to share. So I'm going to introduce my special speakers, and then we'll go on after that. And our speaker is Professor Raymond Lau. He's the Associate Dean of Medicine in University of Singapore. More importantly, he's a master trainer, and he is our chair for the Tai Chi for Institute Sports. And Raymond is also, he's full-time, he is a rheumatologist, which is a specialist with arthritis. And rheumatologist is, I know a lot about, I met a lot of rheumatologists because Tai Chi for arthritis. And one thing I found among the rheumatologists is they're just especially caring doctors, and Raymond certainly is one of them. So everybody join me to welcome Dr. Raymond Lau.
A very good day to all of you. Thank you, Dr. Lam, for your very kind introduction. And thank you for inviting me to give this very short talk on Tai Chi for health and immunity. So I'm going to share screen first. And of course, feel free to ask questions later on after my 15 minutes talk. Can you all see my slides now?
Yes, yes.
All right. So before we start about talking about Tai Chi for health and how it can help with immunity, let's learn a bit more about what is immunity. The definition is simply the ability of an organism, like each of us, to be able to resist a particular infection or toxin by the action of a specific antibody or sensitized white blood cells. And we also need to realize that there's actually at least two levels of immune system. One is the external immunity, and this will consist of even our skin, which is preferably intact and there are no cuts, because the skin itself is a good barrier to all the toxins and infective organisms, be it a virus or a bacteria or even a parasite. And therefore, when there's any cuts in your skin, we should try to make sure that it's clean and it's well dressed, because when there's a break in the skin barrier, then the infection can come into our body. Beyond the skin, there's also a huge area of the body system called the mucosa. In other words, what is within our mouth, in our lungs, in our intestines, and so on. actually have another layer of cells called the mucosal cells. And they also have a particular sort of effect as a barrier to prevent infective organisms from entering our body. And you may not know, but actually even some of the secretion that is natural, for example, the saliva or even our sweat, actually have a bit of immune function, because within the saliva, there are some enzymes or even antibodies that actually can help to break down bacteria or even avoid the bacteria, prevent the bacteria from coming into our body too quickly. So all this external immunity is actually very important. But of course, what is interesting is within each of our body, there's an internal immunity system. And I'd like to share with you what this consists of. So if you look at the internal immune system, it's actually quite complicated, but I'll try to make it simple for you. So first of all, there are two sort of levels. One is what we call the innate immunity. The other one is the adaptive immunity. Now, innate just means that we are born with it, right? Adaptive means that after we are born, somehow, depending on what kind of bacteria or viruses that we encounter, we become more sort of adapted to it, and we can become more immune to it, all right? So both are really important. Now, to then break down the innate immunity, there are two compartments. One is the complement system. The other one is the phagocytes, okay? So to keep things simple, you can think of complements like landmines, right? Because what complements does is that there's protein molecules that when they are sort of linked together, they can punch holes in the bacteria and cause the bacteria to break down, okay? So it's almost like if the bacteria encounter these complements as a set, it's like they step on landmines and they just burst and disappear, right? So that's like a landmine, okay? And then of course there's the phagocytes, and some of you may have heard of words like neutrophils and macrophages, and they are actually a white blood cell sort of part of our blood. And what it does is they are like marines. Why? Because they can travel all over the world or all over your body to try to find out where the bacteria or virus is, and they try to attack it. So they are really quite active, and they wander around quite a bit. And the macrophage is also quite unique because not only they are wandering around, but what they can do is that after they have fight a virus or a bacteria, they will then internalize some of the compartment of this, some of the components of this virus and bacteria. And these components will then be presented to other white blood cells so that the other white blood cells can become trained to recognize these foreign attackers. And they will then produce something else to attack these foreign invaders. And so then we come to the adaptive immunity. So in this system, there's two other compartments. One is the B cells, and the other one is the T cells. Now, B cells are actually like an air force, because what they does is that after the macrophage presents some of these antigens or components of a virus or bacteria to them, they will then say, haha, this is a foreign invader. Let me create something called antibodies to then recognize these foreign invaders in future, and these antibodies will also destroy the invaders. And that's why they produce antibodies, and these antibodies can float around and travel in the bloodstream to any parts of the body where there's blood circulation, and therefore the antibodies will also destroy the virus or the bacteria. And finally, we have the T cells, and they are a little bit more complicated. They have at least three different functions. One is there can be the generals, the assassins, or the psychologists. Okay, then allow me to explain in the next slide what these are. But what I think is also important is that within these four compartments, especially between the phagocytes, the B cells, and the T cells, there are a lot of chemicals called cytokines and chemokines that help to grow and strengthen the immune cells and grow them, and so that they can function even more. So these cytokines can boost the immune system. But there are also cytokines that can dampen the immune system, because sometimes if you become too exuberant in your immune system, what may happen is that your immune system will recognize even what is normal as abnormal, and that can become a problem. Or in fact, because the immune system, when it's activated, it causes inflammation, and when the inflammation is too strong, your body can be harmed, okay? An example will be, for example, the COVID-19 infection, because we know that the patients actually sometimes succumb not to the virus itself, but because when the body is fighting against the virus, the body is so inflamed that the lungs become damaged. And when the lungs are damaged, the patient cannot breathe very well. So we also need to balance what is appropriate immune response and exuberant immune response, otherwise the body can be harmed. And so the cytokines can either improve or enhance the immune system or dampen it with a fine balance. Okay, and that's where the T cells come in, because they need to do that. So we now go on to what happens when the cytokines when the immune system is activated. So there are three things that will happen. First of all, there's some say bacterial viruses that is eaten by this macrophage, and then macrophage will present it to the B cells and the T cells. And along the way, there will be a lot of cytokines and chemokines being produced. So that will cause other cells to be growing, okay, or proliferate. And then because there are more and more cells, the cytokine production become more and more. So in fact, it's a cascade that can be very exuberant, right? Because not only you have more cells, you have also more cytokines. And then of course, some of these cells can move around and they do their function as what we have mentioned earlier. And maybe I just want to, there's one slide that probably is missing. So maybe I'll just briefly talk through it. So the generals refers to the T cells that actually try to control what is happening in the immune system through the cytokines. Okay, the assassins are the T cells that actually can move around as well to kill the virus or a cell that has a virus in it. Okay, and then the psychologist is also the T cells that try to control the immune system and make it less exuberant. So the generals, in a way, is the cells that make it more more active. And then the psychologists are the cells, the T cells that make it less active. Okay, so sort of calm you down, right, as a psychologist. So with that, maybe I can share briefly on how Tai Chi can actually help with the immune response. So this is a paper that was published only recently in 2020, and it actually looked at a full series of studies on how different Tai Chi program or Qigong program can affect the immune system. So if you're interested, you can find it, and it's actually quite a good read. If you look at the result, although they screened for many studies, but they only managed to find 19 randomized control trials, and of which about 1,600 participants were included. And some of the studies were only very small, like 32 participants. Some were a bit larger, like 250. And what is actually found was that the Tai Chi exercise has a small effect of increasing the levels of immune cells. All right, so that's good. I'll show you a little bit of what immune cells are increased with Tai Chi. And also they try to see whether the Tai Chi exercise or Qigong helped to reduce inflammation. And the finding was that there wasn't a significant effect on reducing the level of inflammation. Okay, and that's because they measure an inflammation marker called C-reactive protein, and that didn't change very much. Likewise, the cytokines didn't change very much. So simply put is that Tai Chi and Qigong have been proven to increase the number of immune cells, but it may not be so clear whether it reduces inflammation or not. All right, so if you look at all these studies which are included in the meta-analysis, overall there's a result that seems to show that there's increase in the function of the immune system through some of the T cell count. So some of the cells, you notice that they are on this side. So for example, some of the dendritic cells, these are dendritic cells, seems to be a little bit more. Then there are other cells that either fluctuate here and there. But what is also clear is over here, you can see that these are the general cells, the Th1 and Th2, they are the generals, and the psychology cells, they tend to be better. Okay, B lymphocytes certainly increase in numbers. Okay. And then, of course, the rest doesn't seem to be very clear. But there's actually a very interesting study that shows that when they try to immunize two groups of people, one group who actually Tai Chi, practicing Tai Chi, and one group just deal with some kind of psychological sort of education system, they then immunize these two groups with virus, with the chickenpox virus vaccine, and they realized that the group that was practicing Tai Chi actually have a better virus or immune response to the virus to the chickenpox vaccine compared to the group that actually just does health education, all right? And this goes to show that actually the Tai Chi exercise can boost the immune system such that it responds better to the vaccination. So I think if you want to have a better vaccine response, it's good to practice Tai Chi at the same time. And of course, the Tai Chi group also have significant improvement in their quality of life scores in terms of physical functioning, bodily pain, vitality, and mental health. So overall, there are many other benefits of Tai Chi exercise as well. So finally, I just want to share with you how to strengthen our immunity. Now, we know that the immunity is suppressed by infection. For example, if a person has, say, a flu, then this can actually cause the person to become more immunocompromised, and they are more susceptible to another infection like a pneumonia. And that's why we always try to avoid flu, especially in the older people, because they can get pneumonia after that. And actually, a very well-known infection that destroys the immune system is the HIV virus that causes AIDS, right? So that is well-known. Another very common reason why a person has a weakened immune system is when they have diseases like diabetes mellitus that's not well controlled. Because somehow when the sugar is high around in the body, there are some proteins that become denatured, and that also can cause the immune system to malfunction. And that's why it's very important to control our diabetes well, so that our immune system will not be compromised. And in any diabetic patient, we always have to be careful that whenever they have cuts or they have malinfection, we have to treat it quickly, because they can become very severe infection quite easily if not treated well. And then certain medication can also weaken our immune system, and the most well-known is corticosteroids. We use it for many diseases like asthma or certain autoimmune conditions like arthritis and so on. But when taken in for a very long time at high doses, it can also dampen the immune system. And that's why we always try to use those medications judiciously, use the lowest dose possible to control the disease, and when it is no longer needed, we'll remove it. Of course, there are many other medications that purposely dampen the immune system or actually use the immune system to control the disease. For example, in a lot of the autoimmune diseases that we are treating, we actually have to dampen the immune system because the immune system is a little bit out of control and causing the disease. So the drugs that we use to control this immune system also can weaken the immune system. So you may have heard of drugs like methotrexate, cyclophosphamide, and so on. But don't worry too much about the name of the drugs. Just know that some drugs actually can weaken the immune system. And finally, another big group of medication that can weaken the immune system will be the cancer drugs. Because when we treat cancer, we actually try to destroy cells which are growing very quickly in a little bit of indiscriminate way. And the immune system is also growing very quickly. So inevitably, when we destroy cells which are growing quickly, the immune system cells will also be destroyed, at least partially, if not completely. And therefore the patient become weakened in their immune system as well. And finally, there's another thing that also unfortunately do weaken the immune system, which is the aging process. Somehow, as we grow older, the ability of the cells to function well in the immune system become weakened as well. So therefore, how to strengthen our immune system? Obviously, we should practice Tai Chi for health regularly and avoid infection whenever you can. So dress your wounds well to make sure that external immune system is intact. And then, of course, try not to encounter those and get vaccination, because then you can avoid infection. Or where there's infection going around, don't go to the crowded places, right? Then control illnesses like diabetes well is very useful. Avoid certain medication if possible, or use the lowest dose if you can. And of course, finally, healthy living is very important. And what is proven is that exercise actually help with a lot of the aging hallmarks in terms of improving brain function, cardiovascular function, lung function, etc. And therefore, in fact, when you measure the cellular hallmarks of aging, a lot of the hallmarks that shows that you are aging less is actually proven. So if you're interested to look at what are the details, you can go to this article to have a look. But just, we all know that exercise is good for healthy aging. And I think here, I just want to finally talk about one part of healthy aging, which is how we can try to eat healthy, exercise more, continue to learn so that our brain is active. engage socially. Having this occasion of meeting up together like this is very good. Encourage others, and of course, try to have a purpose and meaning in your life always. And I think if we continue to teach Tai Chi for Health program to one another and to our community, all the above will happen. Because when we teach, we don't eat so much. And then, of course, we're exercising when we teach. Then you are teaching, you also have to learn. And then when you're teaching a group, you are in the social gathering and you're encouraging others and helping others to become healthy is actually a very good purpose. So I think continue to teach Tai Chi for Health program more. And I think you can also age very well. So with that, I pause and I would welcome any questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Liu. That's a wonderful talk. Ernie, do we have any question for Professor Lau?
I have a question that just came in for Dr. Lau. The question is there a way to look after the immunity of mucosa equivalent to looking after wounds to help the immunity through the skin?
Yeah, so this is actually quite similar because let's say we talk about the mucosa of the mouth. You may sometimes have cuts or abrasion that become an ulcer, or you may have then teeth which are not very healthy and there may be germs around the teeth. So all this, the importance of keeping good dental hygiene and keep the oral mucosa clean, as well as maybe avoid the very sharp food that cause abrasion may be helpful, because when you have germs around the teeth, it may go into the body, or if you have a lot of cuts in your mouth, it may actually become a source of infection. Likewise, of course, when you go down the throat and into the stomach and so on, we sometimes would recommend people not to drink too much hot drinks, and because that may cause burns in your mouth and even burns in the gullet. So try to drink and eat food which are actually quite gentle to the mucosa, and avoid food that actually can cause damage to the mucosa. Beyond that, the rest of the mucosa is a little bit harder to modify, and I think the mouth is probably the most important to look into. Another mucosa area that, again, since this is a question, I thought I would just complete it. Another mucosa area is the sexual organs. So again, the way that we have sexual activity is important, because that can be another source of infection. But if there are questions on that, I can elaborate further. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lau. Here's another. Are there times to not practice Tai Chi, like when you are sick with a cold or the flu? Or another part of that question, is there precautions for people who are undergoing cancer treatment to not participate in Tai Chi, is the question.
I would again follow what I think Dr. Lam has been teaching us. When is it safe to practice Tai Chi? I think what we generally say is that if you can walk well without any pain or discomfort, you probably can practice Tai Chi, because the pace of Tai Chi is slow, and it actually doesn't increase your heart rate very much. It doesn't strain your muscles very much. So practice it when you can walk, and of course, don't overexert yourself. In other words, when you're practicing, if you feel any pain or discomfort, always modify the movement or even rest, right? And I would say most of the time it is safe to continue to practice Tai Chi as long as you can walk. But when in doubt, you can always consult your doctor. But I would say for people who have a mild infection, please continue, like a flu, you can continue to practice Tai Chi as long as you're walking well and not lying in bed with a fever. Then if you have any, say, cancer treatment and so on, if you're already recovering well enough to walk independently, why not continue to practice Tai Chi to also help with your immune system and your health?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lau. A couple of other questions I think you've answered in your very clear explanation already. And so we're hearing, thank you very much for your helpful answers, Dr. Lau. Thank you very much.
Again, I'd like to thank Dr. Lau for all your work, and if you have time, stay along and people might give you more questions. And before I start my talk, let me introduce my partner, Hazel, and she's going to be here, but she's going to shift aside so I can take the center stage in case I want to move around. Dr. Lam and me, we work together, but he knows the topic, I know the topic, and we didn't communicate until, say, 1 hour before this talk. I actually looked at the same review, did the same research, and without even talking to him, I was using a model of immune systems like our army. There's Air Force, there's Marine. So I'm going to scrap all that, and because we couldn't do better than Dr. Lam, and I learned so much too on what he's saying. The way he put things through is wonderful. I'm going to first of all start sharing a bit of my personal story with you. For some of you know me, I went through starvation for a number of years, and that when I was in my childhood, and that damaged me in many ways. One of the ways is give me arthritis when I was 13. That's why I start Tai Chi, and that's a blessing in disguise. The other thing, chronic starvation, deprivation of your health, to me was poor immunity. When I become a doctor, I see people every day, of course, and usually they're sick. So I would catch viruses or germs that affect me. So I will get sick, upper respiratory tract infection, and that would take me a long time, 2 weeks to get better. And when I got better, oh wow, I'm top of the world. Next week I catch another one. So this went on for quite a while. Then of course, I started Tai Chi, and I didn't have a good a teacher as you guys have. It took me quite a while, about at least 2 years before I noticed. And gradually, I don't get sick anymore. I hardly ever catch anything from my patients. And if I do, instead of 2 weeks to recover, I feel a bit off, little temperature. I went to sleep, and next day, I'm back to normal. Especially when I feel something coming, I do more Tai Chi. And it really worked for me. So I got so blasé about it. As you know, I travel around the world last 20 years. I met all kinds of people, and I seldom get sick. I really feel good about my immunity, and that has to do with Tai Chi. So when the COVID came, I was not in any fear at all. I still traveling until I'm forced to land back home. And I did my first vaccine because I did not want to be a person who give it to anybody. But by the time the second vaccine came, I was so glad I'm having second vaccine because, who knows how good I am. I'm the highest risk factor because of my age. I feel confident about my ability to fight germs. But with the two vaccines, as you know, one of the studies shows that when people have Tai Chi and they have the vaccine, they have the highest immunity level. That makes sense. So I feel that I did my duty and I protect myself. So I feel really good about having done both. So where am I? Well, I really like Dr. Lam's recommendation of how to be healthy, how to improve your immunity. The one bit that I might like to add a little bit more is that diet has something to do with it. As you know, malnutrition for years reduce your immunity and harm your life. I guess immunity got to do with your health. So the diet, what I think everybody knows what's a good diet, good diet, but especially vitamin C. Vitamin C's are really important for health, but also have a good effect for immunity. And you can Google it to find out what have vitamin C, like citrus food and vegetables give vitamin C. The second one is B6. Vitamin B6 also helps immunity. And I think vitamin E is also, those three are reasonably well known to help. And they come with healthy food, green vegetables, cold water, fish. You can Google what they are and just take a bit more notice and have a bit more healthy food. Because really, healthy life, immunity is vital for life. You know, in experiment, we create the things called germ-free animal. So, you know, it's really, really difficult to make the environment germ-free. As you remember Dr. Lau's talk, germs are everywhere in mucosa, even inside our body, in our bowels and everywhere. So some germs are really healthy for us, but our immune system fights germs every day, every minute, every second, and fight cancer cells. So to create germ-free animal is really, really, really hard. And it can be done. And you know what? The animal grow twice as big. They look really healthy and beautiful. The minute it take them off the environment, they die almost straight away. So we do need exercise immunity. We do need our life, just like we need to be active and we need to do our Tai Chi and we need to be communicating. All that helps. The immunity needs exercise, like the army and the navies. They need exercise to keep brush their technique and be healthy. So Tai Chi, of course, is a great exercise. And Tai Chi is about really improving your Qi. So in a way, Qi is life. Better Qi gives you better immunity, in my mind. So I would like to just talk a little bit about the part of Tai Chi that's really good for immunity. I think the part of the Tai Chi that improves your Qi would be, of course, really significant to improve our Qi. So if you do Tai Chi, just move around, which is good exercise, it's moving, that's great. But if you do Tai Chi, follow the principle, and that would improve your Qi much more so. In other words, doing Tai Chi internally, being mindful with the breathing, that would improve your Qi, and that is what the magic of Tai Chi is, make your internal Qi stronger. The Dantian breathing method, and if you haven't heard of it, that's okay. It's just a very easy breathing method that is really good to improve your Qi. And the good part of it is you can do it anywhere, any place, even when you're sitting here. So to do Dantian method, it's important to start with the mind. So calm your mind and just be here when you do your Tai Chi. So be mindful of where you are, sitting down, standing up, and then be mindful of that you're doing this. You're just going to breathe and not let other things bother you too much. And whenever you get something that distracts you, you start thinking of a fight with your friends today, or problem with the internet, then you just take a gentle breath, which I'm going to show you, and bring you back to where we are. So be here, be mindful. And the next thing to do, once your mind's cleansed, is be mindful with your posture. Allow your body to be upright. Because when you're upright, your Qi flow better. Whether you're sitting down, if you do this, your Qi doesn't flow. If you're sitting up, so you're sitting up, trying to stand up, but not tense. Just allow your body to gently imagine there is a string. Just pull your head up a little bit and allow your joints to open. So you might want to join me. Just let your hands go in front of you and just allow your joints to be open and being mindful. And then think of this area below your belly button, which we call it Dantian. It's 3-finger breath below your belly button. Imagine there's a little balloon just sitting below your belly button. And then imagine you're going to breathe in gently as you expand your hands. And let that balloon just gently expand. Then as you breathe out, you take a gentle breath and squeeze that balloon a little closer. And if that's easier to do, you can bring your hands forward and do it this way. Gentle expansion and gentle contraction. Now, if you are comfortable to do that, I'd like you to think of your expansion and contraction just at below your belly button here, and try not to move any other part of the body. So as you, and make it really gentle. Thinking about it is good enough. So a gentle expansion and a gentle contraction. And if you can, make your contraction with your pelvic floor muscle. When you contract, just gently contract your pelvic floor muscle. Anytime you feel uncomfortable, just forget the whole thing and smile and let your body go natural. And when you're ready, you can come back again and you go breathing in, expand. Breathing out, gently contract. And if you can do it, make your breathing a little longer, that's wonderful, but don't work too hard, just mindful within your comfort zone. And if you can feel a nice warm feeling in your palm, that's a good sign. That means you got nicer, your chi's flowing better. And if you don't feel it, don't worry. Back to be here now and just quietly enjoy that little breathing. And this is really helpful when you're stressed. You don't have to bring your hand up, you can just breathe. When you can't go to sleep, when you got jet lag like I did when I traveling around the world, those breathing exercises help me everywhere. When I fly around the world, sitting in that little seat, and the chi feeling just helps and help us to relax. And then when you can incorporate part of that, you don't have to be so fussy. You don't have to try so hard. Just naturally incorporate this into your Tai Chi forms. And I think you'll find you feel good. And when you feel good, that means your chi is growing. That means your immune system is getting better. You know, one part, the most important part about, in my mind, about what makes your immune system stronger is when you're happy. When you feel good about yourself, when you feel good about your friends around you, everything gets better, especially your immune system. So that's what I love to share, and I think that some of you have sent in questions, so I'll love to answer those questions. I think Ernie, you have some pre-sent question for me.
Yes, Dr. Lam, we are very fortunate to have two specialists in medicine and Tai Chi with you and Dr. Lau. Everyone appreciates that we're getting so many thank yous and wonderful presentations. Many of the questions deal with specific medical conditions. There are so many of those, but let me see what I can do. One that came in early. Here is the question for Dr. Lam. Tai Chi stimulates and strengthens the immune system, a benefit for those with normally functioning systems. However, If a person has an overly active immune system, such as in rheumatoid arthritis or Sjogren's, so forth, how does Tai Chi affect or help these particular conditions?
That would be an excellent question for Dr. Lau, but I'm going to say something first, and then Dr. Lau will give you the real answer. It depends on what you look at the allergy, because I'm very sensitive to lots of things. Allergy is an overactive immune system, but in a way, it's also the immune system going the wrong way. They start doing, taking things that's harmless. And so in that reason, I think Tai Chi is going to help, because it's not like it's overactive and Tai Chi make it more active, but because Tai Chi make it function better, so it will actually calm down. So I think it would help for that reason. And I'd love to hear Dr. Lau's view.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Lam. There are two aspects to this. First, as I have shared earlier, in the T cells compartment, there's the generals who sort of make everyone work hard to fight the so-called foreign invaders. But there's also the psychologists who try to calm everything down. So actually, Tai Chi exercise help to enhance both. So when there is an invader, you will quickly mount a very robust response. And then when the invader is gone, or if you have some autoimmune disease, the Tai Chi will also help to calm things down a bit better. So that's the first aspect. The second is we know that there are many things that also affect the immune system, like the stress and the stress hormones. And so sometimes if your stress hormones are overstimulated, that will also affect the immune system negatively. Okay, especially when it comes to some of this over response to certain normal, I mean, your immune system may become abnormal to attack the body, and that can be the autoimmune disease. And one way to calm down the stress is actually through Tai Chi, because we know very well that just now when we are doing the breathing exercise, that helps to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system that makes us calm and tranquil and ready to do and ready to grow inside. Compared with the other nervous system, there's the sympathetic nervous system that makes us run away or fight the animal that's attacking us. So therefore, if you are constantly stressed, your immune system will become abnormal. But if you have a good balance of being calm and tranquil, like a parasympathetic response, then I think the immune system have a chance to recover and become normalized again. So I think on these two levels, it's actually beneficial.
Absolutely. Great. Next, more questions? Was there another question?
Yes. This is someone asking if you could refresh them. You mentioned, Dr. Lam, about vitamin C and vitamin B6. Was the third vitamin, would that be vitamin E? Could you please let us know?
Absolutely. It's vitamin E.
Okay. And then we had a question that came in early, and I believe you've answered that quite thoroughly. The question was, what does it mean to practice with intent? I believe you've answered that already, maybe.
Well, thank you, Ernie. You're absolutely right. In that part of the answer for the question was, when you're being here, when you're mindful, and when you moving with that breathing technique, moving against a gentle resistance. So that's your intent. Another word, when you practice Tai Chi, you are being mindful. You are being here now. And that's okay if you get distracted. That's normal, we'll get distracted. As long as you come back and back to being here, and that's the intent of Tai Chi. And it's another word, Tai Chi is not a mindless exercise. It's not just moving. The more important part is being mindful. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Lam. Many of the questions coming through are asking if they can have copies of the slides from Dr. Lau's presentation. And also, Dr. Lam and I want to remind everyone, you will get a video recording of this forum. Just allow a little bit of time, excuse me, allow a little bit of time for that to be edited, and we will send you the video recording. Okay, one more here. 2 or 3 people want to know about the studies that show Tai Chi and vaccine giving the highest immunity level. It applies to, I believe you said chicken pox. Does it apply to more than that for highest immunity level? Tai Chi and vaccine, the vaccination together.
There are a few studies on that. One of them is on chickenpox, that they found having Tai Chi and having also the vaccine give you best result. The Tai Chi compared to vaccine, vaccine is slightly better in bringing immunity. But remember, Tai Chi's immunity is for everything. So, but when you do both, you get the highest rate. And I think there are other studies on shingles and with similar result. You can Google those studies, and if you can't find it, email us. Either me or Dr. Lau will supply you with the name of the studies. So I was just thinking, if there is no more urgent questions, I thought it would be really nice for us to get to know each other. And I'm going to divide you into different breakout rooms. There's a lot of us, so you're going to have 6 in each room. You don't have to think. We press the button and you'll be one of the 6. And what I'd like you to do, you have about 10 minutes. What I'd like you to do is introduce yourself, so you can know a few friends, and talk about what did you find most useful in this presentation. Evan, are you ready? We have 10 minutes and then we'll come back. Welcome back, everybody. Did you have a nice time meeting people around the world? Yeah, great. So now I just wonder if you have some really urgent question to ask Dr. Lau or me. Otherwise, you can also leave it in chat and we're trying to answer it later. Were there anything that you really need to have an answer, let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to do a bit of conclusion. I think the first thing I like to do is to take a photo for all of us. There's so many of us, we probably need to do different frames. When I send you the recordings, there will be the slides will be there, and the things we mentioned would be whatever showing the screen, you should get it in the recording. And give me a little time before I send it out. And we would also send you a survey, a question to ask you what would you like us to talk about, to focus on next month. This monthly meeting is wonderful. It just allows us to get together and share the energy, and also allow us to meet people who's so far away we don't usually get to meet. I hope you enjoyed that 10 minutes getting to know some people more intimately. So if you like that too, let me know, and I'll try to do that each month. So each month you get to know a few more people. Eventually, we'll get to know everybody who do Tai Chi with us. There's only about, I think, 15 million of them around the world. But I do run into people everywhere when I travel. So, you know, we did a great job, and we have a lot of people. And I imagine, I know a lot of you are teachers, and that's wonderful, very, very exciting to be able to share what we have. And if you're not teaching, if you want to teach, do keep an eye on my website. I'm running another stage 1 teaching self-paced package for the next program is Tai Chi for Beginner. And you might not realize Tai Chi for Beginner, the first lesson is free. So you can ask people to go look it up. And there's 8 million people has been that website, and many of them actually stay for the whole lesson, which is 1 hour, which is unusual for any website. Usually 10 seconds and they forget. So 8 million people there. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who like to do Tai Chi with us. And so I'm going to do this self-paced instructor training probably in 6 to 8 weeks time, but keep in touch and read my newsletter. I'll let you know when I have it. It's all set up, but just have to give time for people to study. I don't know, I wonder if Dr. Lau has something to say before I conclude.
Again, thank you very much for all your encouragement. I really like the comments that you all have made, and there are a lot of interest to know more about this, and certainly I will be sharing the slides, and you all can also read some of the original articles that some of these references were taken from. But I think ultimately is how we apply this knowledge and share with our friends. So just 2 things: remember to practice your Tai Chi regularly and try to teach Tai Chi for health more to others.
Thank you, Dr. Lau. I want to, on behalf of our whole team, I want to thank you for being here. I can't stress how important it is for us to keep in touch, because humans are meant to be communicating, to be a community, to share and to learn from each other. And this is the opportunity. I hope to continue to run it, and I hope you keep coming and ask your friends to come. So the more we have, the more energy we gather, and we all learn from each other. And then I want to thank my team, Ernie and Nuala, all the way from UK. This is very late for her. And our technical director, Evan, who's just so good at so many things. And thank you for keeping everything working well. And our team that you haven't met, they also have been working behind the scene to bring people here to make this really beautiful and smooth. And I'd like to wish you all well. Keep practicing, keep sharing, keep staying positive, and keep in touch. We are always happy to hear from you and communicate with you. So thank you, everybody. But Ernie, have I missed anything?
No, I think that everyone is very appreciative. I want to remind everyone, these are monthly instructor forums. You must register for each one. There will be a new topic each month. So watch Dr. Lam's newsletters and bulletins and messages to all of you, and register for each one. If you need assistance, you know how to reach us at Dr. Lam's USA workshops, and we communicate with the rest of the world, Australia team as well. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ernie. And Nuala, do you like to say something?
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you, Dr. Lau.
Yeah, there are few board members and master trainers here. I'd like to especially welcome you, but I don't think I have time to introduce all of you. But my heart to everybody, and stay well, have lots of tea. That I haven't answered, so I'm going to start answering some of them, and whatever I miss out, Ernie and Nuala remind me. One of the question was, how is this immune system